Previously on Fine Tuning. In an unfortunate shipping accident, the guitar's headstock was broken. What can we do? What can be done? Can we fix it? Spoiler alert. Yes.
Hey, what's up guys, it's Lucas, and today we're going to fix a broken headstock. So, first of all, let me just tell you that this is really not a huge deal to fix. I know it can be a little bit scary if you've never done something like this before, but if you're in a position like I am where you have a very clean break, and when I say clean break, I mean, like, if you saw the last video, there's no splinters or crazy, shattered pieces or anything like that. I mean, really, it's just like a puzzle piece. You can just fit the two pieces back together. Then fixing a broken headstock is really not a huge deal. And so let me show you what you're going to need to do this, because it's pretty simple. First, you're going to need wood glue. Not epoxy, not super glue, not Elmer's white glue, wood glue. This is very important. All right, now this is Gorilla wood glue. You don't want to use regular Gorilla glue because that stuff kind of expands, and you don't want that. This is just regular old Gorilla wood glue, but you can also use like Tight Bond or something. I mean, Elmer's wood glue, whatever, just wood glue. It's kind of a white color like this, and it's very easy to work with. You have some time to kind of shift things around if you need to. It's pretty easy to work with, but it's very strong. In fact, it's actually stronger than the wood itself. So once you glue this correctly, it will actually be stronger in that joint than it was before. So next thing, you're gonna need some clamps. What I have here are some just regular, like, kind of 6-inch bar clamps. I recommend some kind of clamp that has some plastic or rubber here. You don't want anything metal that has like ridges or something that could dig in. You don't want anything that can dig in and dent the wood. And even with this, you could dent the wood if you do it too tightly. So don't do it too tightly. You just want to make sure that it has a good, secure, strong hold. You're probably gonna want more than one clamp, 2, maybe 3, depending on how big the break is. But I've got 3 here. I don't think we'll need 3, but I've got 3. Some paint tape. This is just to kind of do your best to kind of tape off some of the areas where you don't want glue to get, that if you can help it. When you clamp up something like this where you've got glue on it, it's probably gonna squeeze out a little bit, and that's okay. And you can kind of, while it's wet, you can sort of wipe that off with like a damp paper towel or just a regular paper towel. And even if you miss a little bit and it dries, wood glue is very forgiving. It's pretty easy to kind of scrape away or sand away, so it's not a huge deal. But paint tape is good just to kind of cover up some extra areas if you can. And then finally, what I have here is just some cheap paintbrushes. And this is what we're gonna use to paint on the glue, because you don't want to take the glue and just squirt it directly out of the bottle because you get too much on there. And really the best way to do it is to put the glue in like a little plate or on a piece of plastic or something like that and kind of paint it on so that you can really get it in all the ridges. And that's what these little cheap paintbrushes are for. This is like 99 cents for a pack of 30 of these, which will last forever. I went ahead and took all the hardware off the headstock just to get that stuff out of the way, so it's not in the way of the clamps, or there's not me risking a little glue getting into something or anything. It's just easier to just take it off. So took off the truss rod and took off all the tuners and everything, so we just have the bare headstock. So what we're gonna do first, like I said, is just do a little bit of taping. Not much. You take a strip of tape. Paint tape is good for this. You don't want to use anything more adhesive than like paint tape or masking tape. And I'm just gonna put it just kind of below the line of where the break is, like that. So there's probably like a centimeter in between the edge of the break and the tape. And that's just to keep excess glue from getting there. Like I said, it's gonna squeeze out on some of these other areas, and that's fine. But that's to kind of just preemptively stop that if I can help it. Something like that. Okay, same kind of thing with the headstock. It's a little bit trickier here because the break, as you can see, runs right up to the nut. So what I'm gonna do, again, take a little paint tape, something like that, that's good enough. Now, if this headstock had been broken off and had sat for a long time, like let's say this headstock broke and sat in the shop for 6 months or something, then you might want to kind of clean this out gently with a, like a dry brush or an air blower or something like that, just to make sure there's no excess stuff in there. But this just happened, and I haven't been like messing with it or anything, so it's still very clean, so I'm not gonna need to do that. But just keep that in mind. If it's been sitting around for a long time, you might wanna clean it out a little bit. So we're gonna go ahead and get a paintbrush out. You can't see it here, but what I have on the table is just a little piece of plastic that I have kind of taped down to the table, and I'm just going to apply the glue to that so that I can use it almost like an easel, not an easel, palette, so that I can put the glue on there and then paint it on. So I've just made myself, you know, about a quarter size puddle of wood glue, and that's probably enough. If I need more, you can always put more. Doesn't matter which side you do first. I'm gonna do the headstock first because then I can paint it on there and just kind of set it off to the side whilst I do the second part of the guitar. So you're gonna take your wood glue, or your paintbrush, get some wood glue on it. It doesn't have to be a whole lot. And then you're just going to paint it on a nice even coat. It doesn't have to be super gunky. Like I said, this is gonna be a really tight fit anyway, so you're gonna get some squeeze out. The main thing you wanna make sure is that you get it in all the grooves. So for instance, here's what I'm at right now. Let me just focus that. There you go. See that kind of lighter white area? That's where I'm putting the glue on. And because this kind of broke where the truss rod channel is, I'm trying to avoid putting it in the truss rod channel because I don't want glue in there where the truss rod is. Now wood glue will not bond to metal because it's hard and smooth, and wood glue only bonds to things that are porous. So it's gonna work great for the wood and it's not going to bond to the truss rod. However, it does take up space, so you don't want it in there if you can help it. So you're probably gonna get a little bit of bleed anyway, but just try to avoid, don't paint it in there on purpose. Something about like that. So you can see I've purposely avoided the truss rod channel. I have purposely avoided where the nut is going to go, just where the break happened. All right, so now that we've got that done, like I said, you have a little time to work with wood glue. It doesn't dry instantaneously like super glue or something. So I've just set that off to the side. And now what we're gonna do is that exact same thing, but on the other side. So once again, there's our break. So you can see it's a pretty clean break. And we're gonna do the same thing here with our paintbrush. Again, the truss rod is in this side, so I'm being careful to not paint on the truss rod the glue. Like I said, you're gonna get some on the truss rod anyway, that's all right. It doesn't bond to wood, but try to avoid it if you can. So we're gonna get something like that. All right, easy peasy. Now you could do this on a table or a workbench or something. I've just got a guitar stand here, which works just fine. So I'm just gonna kind of set this guitar in the stand, just like that. And we have our other puzzle piece with the glue painted on it. Glue's still nice and wet, because as I said, wood glue, you have a pretty long time to work with it before it starts to harden up. You're gonna have several hours probably before it's really gonna be hard to move. So we're gonna go ahead and kind of just try and fit it in there as best we can. So already I'm getting some glue press out. That's pretty normal. A clean brush here and just kind of brush off some of that excess there. Just kind of pick it up. So now we've got a good solid connection. So you can see, because I'm not holding this, it's broken, but the glue is already kind of holding it on there. So now we're gonna apply our clamps. So first off, with a clamp, clamps work best when you can get the most surface area that you can, as far as like the contact points. So what we're gonna do is kind of get it pretty close to being where we want it, like that. Trying to avoid putting it on a fret if we can. There we go. Kind of trying to put it in the center of the break here. And like I said, the more you apply pressure to this, you're going to see more and more glue come out. And that is both normal and expected, not a big deal. Okay, so that's going to cover the majority of the surface area of this break. Since we've got a little kind of tail down on this part, let's see if I can show you that. See where the break goes all the way down to about right there. We're going to go ahead and put another clamp on it right there to try and make sure that that part lays as flat as we can get it. So So we can kind of sand that back a little bit, but it's easier to just try and clamp it from the beginning. Same kind of thing here. Just try to get the clamp in the ballpark. You know, if it goes on a fret, that's not a huge deal. It's just like, ideally you would want to not do that so that you get the most surface area clamping pressure. All right, so that's good. So I can see already as I'm doing that, I'm getting more glue squeeze out. So that means that I have a good, solid joint. Okay. Again, don't over tighten this. You know, just with this kind of clamp, it's kind of hard to over tighten it really because like it just won't go any further from squeezing it. But if you have one of those that has a crank on it, you can easily over tighten those, so be careful. So I think probably 2 is going to be sufficient here. I don't think I can really get any more surface area coverage there anyway. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. I've got 2 clamps on it. You can see I've got a little glue squeeze out. So after I turn this off, I'm just going to take a damp paper towel and just kind of wipe off some of that excess there just to kind of preemptively get some of the wood glue off, but it's not a huge deal if it dries. You can kind of scrape it off with a razor blade or wipe it off or something. It's not a huge deal. So, but yeah, that looks good. So that's all we needed to do. So now I'm going to set this over to the side, and you need to put that in a way that there's not going to be a ton of, you know, I wouldn't put it somewhere where it's like the headstock is like hanging off. I would kind of stand it up or something so that it's pushing down instead of away. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of put it in the stand as kind of vertical as I can get the brake angle. And then just leave it there for a good 24 hours. And that should be enough. You know, it doesn't hurt anything to wait longer than that, you know, if you want to. If you want to wait 48 hours or 72 hours or something, that's fine. But we should have maximum glue adhesion and drying in 24 hours, assuming that your, you know, climate in your house or wherever you're doing this is normal. That's really all you gotta do. So I will check back with you guys after this has dried, and we'll do the cleanup stuff, and then you can see what that looks like.